would like to call to order the Cohasset Advisory Committee meeting of Wednesday, October 22nd, which is being held as a virtual meeting via Zoom video, as provided by law. So could I have a roll call, please? Mike Barclay?
Mike Barclay here.
Mark Cameron?
Mark Cameron here.
Tom Callahan?
Tom Callahan here.
Michael Flaherty?
Michael Flaherty here.
Mark Maggi?
Mark Maggi here.
Courtney Murphy?
Courtney Murphy here.
And Vince not here. Never mind. Okay, so we'll move on with the agenda. Excuse me. The first agenda item is a discussion, review, vote on remaining warrant articles for special town meeting. And the only one that we really need to still vote is the permission for the solar array on the roof, on the school roofs. That is, Tracy is running the meeting tonight, for those of you who didn't hear me say it before, because Mike isn't available. I mean, sorry, Chris isn't available. So she tells me that some of the other committees that would vote on it are ready to vote on town meeting floor. But Tanya Bodell, who is on the Alternative Energy Committee, asked if she could make a brief presentation, and I felt that there were enough new people on the committee that it might make sense. She said it would be, 5 or 10 minutes. And if we have any questions, we could ask her, and then we'll be ready to vote at town meeting. Also, I'm going to just to go back to the town meeting, I am going to post the meeting for 6:30 so that if there's any unfinished business or anything that we do have to vote, for example, this item, we can do that before town meeting starts. So we'll do, for the new benefit of the new people, I'll call to order at 6:30 or 6:35 when we have a quorum. We'll discuss the things that need to be voted, and then we'll go on from there. We'll adjourn our meeting because we're covered under the town meeting agenda. Okay, anybody questions? Okay.
So I'm sorry, Jean, just reconfirming. So Monday, we will log on to Zoom at 6:30, cover any unfinished business. And
Town meeting on November 3rd is in person.
Okay.
Okay, so
Okay.
we'll all get to see each other up close and personal.
Okay.
And meet each other in real life.
Got it.
But it will be at 6:30. I'm going to have Tracy post it for 6:30.
Okay.
Mike
Okay.
Barclay's 7.5 feet tall, so you'll find out in person.
All right.
And that's usually at the one of the tables. Just gather at one of the tables outside at the top of the stairs in the gym or outside the gym.
Right. And also for those of you who have not sat on the committee previously, we sit at a table up at the front, right behind the town moderator. Okay, so Tracy, if you want to let Tanya in, that would be great.
Sure.
Thank you.
Hello, waiting for my video to show up. Great.
Hi, Tanya.
Hi, everybody. Great to see you.
To see you too.
And Jean, this is not a new topic for you because you were the one who introduced it to me.
I know, and I was on the alternative energy committee the entire time that I was on the school committee. So we did the bus thing. We did a lot of different things. So it's all good.
We have a lot of great things.
Yeah,
So hello, everybody. If you don't know me, my name is Tanya Bodell, 88 South Main Street. I'm the chair of the Alternative Energy Committee. I was chair from 2010 to 13 before joining the advisory committee for 2 terms, and then returned to the Alternative Energy Committee in 2019. And I'm now in the beginning of my 3rd term on that committee again as chair. This Article 11 in the warrant is what I'm here to discuss with you. I don't have any fancy PowerPoint slide presentations, which is normally how we operate because it's a very quick discussion, mainly here to answer questions you may have. Starting in, I think, 2010, the town passed the first authorization to lease the school property for purposes of solar energy array. At that time, we discovered that the school roofs were halfway through their life and it did not make sense to put solar panels on. When they were approaching the end of their 20-year life in 2020, during the COVID town meeting, we put forward this authorization again and it passed. And as we were ready to start looking at opportunities, the state moved the goalpost with respect to the roof replacement further back to 25 to 27 years old. So the schools are now looking at replacing the roofs at Osgood and Deer Hill. It's timely because the most recent legislation that was passed has tightened up the deadlines on the federal 30% incentives that would help us make this economic. It basically, in order to dispose of any assets or acquire assets, requires a town meeting vote. A lease is considered a disposition and therefore requires a 30B procurement process and approval by the town to lease the property. So what Article 11 does is it asks the town for permission to lease the school property at Osgood and Deer Hill. Osgood will have its roof replaced first, is my understanding, followed by Deer Hill. We have also, in addition to looking at the roofs, have looked at carports after the 2020 authorization. And I think Jean knows it's useful to have this in our back pocket so we can move quickly as opportunities arise. And we have been eyeing the school roofs and school property as a potential solar energy array for a while. Last thing I'd like to note is that the solar energy array at the old landfill, which ultimately was built after the approval in 2010, that has now generated for the town $500,000 in savings. So the potential for savings may not be at the same level as it was back then, but there may be potential for savings. And if there aren't, we can always choose not to proceed. This is just basically giving the town authorization to lease the school property, and that includes the roofs as well as the rights of ways and easements for purposes of connecting at Sawyer Street to the system. Gives us permission to be able to do that so that when we go out to procure potential proposals for solar energy arrays, this is already a done deal. We don't have to tell them we need to wait for the next town meeting. I think
Anybody
that
have a
summarizes it.
question?
Are there any questions?
Courtney's thinking.
Lots of questions. Do
Oh,
you, Jean,
okay.
want to call them or?
Courtney, you go first, then
Thank-
Mike, then
Thank
Mark.
you, Jean. Tanya, it's nice to meet you. I'm Courtney. I apologize. You said the $500,000 savings over what period of time frame was that?
That's been since 2017.
Thank you, 2017. And are there any other? This is sort of just helping to understand the broader landscape. Beyond these two identified school roofs, are there other opportunities that you sort of see longer term if we were to get these two school roofs done? Is there a long-term plan there that would add other opportunities?
Yeah, so that's a great question. We have done a significant amount of research into town land that could be used for solar energy arrays. The way it generally works is there's a 20-year contract with the developer. So the town puts nothing down, does not have to take on any debt. And the developer finances the project, runs it, owns it on the land that we lease to them in exchange for the town buying the power, for example, at 8.8 cents, which is what the current contract on the old landfill is. There are not a lot of large places to put solar energy arrays, and the small locations like the police fire station, the water department, the library, those all are basically break-even propositions. They're almost too small to be economic and guarantee us savings. So we've not moved forward with those. Also, the age of those roofs matter. So it really is about trying to find the largest roof space or larger area, and be able to take advantage of that opportunity. Osgood is up for roof replacement, followed by Deer Hill. The incentives at the federal level expire if the project is not operational by the end of 2027. So as always with these, we're running against, tariffs and federal support and state support and other things. But the key thing that this tries to do is take advantage of the largest areas that we might be able to access as soon as the roofs are replaced. And I'll also say the school committee, through the conversations we've had with them over the last 15 years, has also opened up to thinking about extending the parking lot and having a carport on part of the property as well. So when we have permission to lease the property, we can go out and ask for plans for something like that. The last place would be the MBTA station that is not owned by the town. We have tried to pursue, there was a developer who, as you know, did the solar panels in Hingham. That has never come to fruition. Nobody wants to drill into the parking lot and take potential environmental responsibility. So that has sort of shut us down at the MBTA station, unfortunately.
Yes. Thank you.
Have any of you seen the carports in Hingham? At one of the train stations?
Yes.
Yep.
Mike?
Thanks, Tanya. Just a couple of questions. I mean, the first is in terms of leasing out the school roofs, is that a school committee decision, or is that because the school committee in many ways operates on their own, with their own kind of purview? And
Yeah.
so if that's really just a decision for them, or is it a broader town decision? That would be my first question. And then just the second question is, as you well know, a lot of moving parts in all of this discussion. I mean, I think it's fundamentally a great idea to try to do this. By voting for this, are we just leaving the question open so that at a future date, we can drill into the economics of whether or not this makes sense for the town, and we're not being locked into it with this vote?
Yes, so great questions. I'll start off by saying the town owns the buildings. And so the town, the select board, the article would authorize the select board with the approval of the Cohasset School Committee to lease the space on the school buildings and the school property. So since the town owns the schools, it's a town authorization, but we build into the article the approval of the Cohasset School Committee, because obviously those are the assets that they're operating in, and they have a very strong, if not definitive, decision on whether or not things proceed. So following 2020, we did receive a lot of proposals for carports and for the roofs. The roofs didn't make sense economically because we'd have to take them down halfway through when we were replacing the roofs, and the carports were not aesthetically pleasing to the school committee at that time. And so as a result, we did not proceed with any of the offers that were presented. So that answers your second question, which is this is not a commitment to anything other than permission to lease the school property if it makes sense. And that would ultimately be determined by the select board with the input from the school committee.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mhm.
Mark?
But on the, I guess, I don't know if I misheard it, but on the, as far as the economics of the deal, when would that come? Obviously, that would be part of putting this all together. So if we're at the stage of just engaging and having the conversation to then understand the further details of it, because one could be in favor of leasing it out, providing that the financial deal makes sense. But if the deal doesn't make sense, then that would be a different decision. So who makes that final decision on whether it is a good deal or not?
So the way it has worked in the past is the Alternative Energy Committee has pulled together an evaluation committee, which usually included a school committee liaison, an advisory committee, capital budget, and select board liaison. We, through the town procurement process, put out a solicitation for proposals to develop the solar energy array and ask for a price for electricity. Generally, we do not charge a fee for the lease. We try to get as much as possible into the savings with a lower electricity price. And then that evaluation committee looks at the proposals to determine how to proceed. That recommendation then goes to the select board and the school committee. And the focus of the evaluation committee has always been with respect to the economics. And we've always gotten economic offers. That doesn't mean we would get an economic offer going forward, but we would see. And ultimately, as I said, it's the select board with the approval of the Cohasset School Committee that determines whether or not it's worthwhile to proceed based on a number of factors, including the economics and the aesthetics, which ended up being more important than the economics last time.
Does that answer your question?
Thank you. Yep. And like
But
said,
let me
one
tell you why
follow-up is-
we like to get the pre-approval on this, because it's just easier to go out to the market and say, we've got the approval to lease the property and the roofs. So please come back with your proposal. Last time we also said, find for us any place in town that you could put the solar panels, private or public, and sell us the power. And so they did come in with some ideas, but they were not as economic because the private entities wanted to get a lease payment. And so the price was not as economic. But for those private sites, we don't need approval. It's only for the town sites that we need approval. It's just nicer to go to market with a pre-approval because it sends a message to the market that we're serious. And one less thing for them to have to worry about.
Okay, and just reading the article, it's for a period of up to 25 years. Right?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Mike?
Yeah, hey, apologize, Tanya, just kind of a little scattered here, but one of the things you mentioned earlier was just that, you know, it's a 20-year contract and then the developer finances it. And I guess, you know, will there be a time where if the next step is taken that the developer can really be vetted, you know, because what happens if the developer goes belly up, right? And you know, it wouldn't be the first time, you know, in any setting, and then the town's on the hook for it. I guess that's one risk here that would concern me if all of a sudden this came to the advisory committee and said, oh yeah, we got the developer in place and 20-year contract, here it is. You know, what the vetting process would be for that developer to make sure that, because I'm sure if they leave town, then the town's on the hook for it, right?
Well, so yes and no. But the vetting process is done by the evaluation committee as part of the procurement process under 30B. With respect to the developer going belly up, this actually did happen following 2010, where we had 3 offers. We chose one, a 100-year-old electric company, and they ended up going bankrupt, but not before they stopped returning our calls. At that point, a local company, the current owner operator of the old landfill site, came in, and it was timely enough that we could still proceed with them in their offer, and then we went forward. The contract between us and the developer is to buy the power. So if they go belly up and haven't completed the development of the site, there's no obligation on our part, and the contracts have a number of risk mitigation aspects to it. These are standardized contracts at this point, and we have a working contract that we can operate from because it's been working for us. So we have some risk mitigation in that, but the evaluation committee would be the committee that determines whether the proposer is qualified to move forward with this.
Okay, and just once these are installed on a roof, you know, how much maintenance is necessary year in and year out? Because again, that's usually sometimes when the developer will disappear a little bit when there's maintenance that needs to be done. So, yeah, I guess you answered my question, and we have to just trust that the vetting process is gonna put us in the right hands with the developer.
Yeah, the developer is incentivized to produce as much electricity as possible, right? Because they don't get paid if they don't produce it, because we don't get the credit. So the way this works is the value to the town is we pay a certain price, let's say $10 cents per kilowatt hour for the electricity, but we get a credit from the state through net metering, or it goes directly into the school, which is a possibility here, not on the landfill. Regardless, the credit that we would get would be higher if it's an economic opportunity. And so effectively we pay, say, 10 cents and we get a 14-cent credit against our usage. Right now, the old landfill only produces 10% of the total usage of the town. So we have headroom to be able to procure more cost-effective energy, whatever
Just
form that may take.
theoretically speaking, so that 10 cents per kilowatt, like how does that stack up to what we're paying for, I don't know, from National Grid or wherever we're getting our power now?
Yeah, 10 cents is less. 8.8 cents, which is what we're paying on the old landfill, is way less. I think the current, I'd have to look at the current prices. I think they've settled in at like 14 to 16 cents per kilowatt hour. And it varies by season. And during, of course, the Ukraine war, when Russia invaded Ukraine, gas prices spiked and we were making bank because we were locked in with that lower price. So it serves two purposes. One is the savings as well as the stability, which is nice for budgeting purposes.
So even without the credit, we're hypothetically paying less than what we would if we were funding it, paying for natural gas at current market rates.
Well, there are two legs of, we need both, right? So in the case of the old landfill, it doesn't serve any load. It goes straight into the grid. So we buy it, but we need somebody to buy it off of us. And that's where National Grid pays us the credit through the net metering. And with respect to the schools, they're our largest load, the largest source of our municipal load. And it is possible, it may make sense to have the electricity go straight into the schools usage. But because of the way solar works, there may be times where it's producing, but the schools aren't in session or others. So it also might make sense to simply have it sent directly into the grid. But it would be more economic, is our hope. And when we get the prices, we can make a determination about how much more economic it is and what the risk would be of the contract going upside down, which in some other towns that went in early and paid 16 cents, there are times where they are upside down.
So in that 8.8 cents per kilowatt is locked, or is that floating? But
The current arrangement is 8.8 cents per kilowatt hour, and it's locked for the 20 years.
great. So all right, so so you can lock it in, and then you can, credits or not, you're probably making out better than if you're pulling natural gas from the pipe.
Well, we're not pulling natural gas from the pipe. This is for electricity. So
But if you're the school,
metering credit.
trying to heat and cool big buildings, 8.8 cents per kilowatt is
that is a great price.
Correct.
We will be likely
Trying
to
to,
get that price. Yeah.
like assess the upside downside here a
Yep,
little.
that's right. The other thing is these developers have gotten clever and they've just said, we'll give you a guaranteed 1 cent per kilowatt hour guaranteed savings. So whatever the National Grid price is, we'll give you a guaranteed 1 to 2 cents per kilowatt hour. So those are also offers that we saw after the 2020 permission. And we might see another type of arrangement that they've come up with. So the choice is, do we take the guaranteed savings and still be exposed to the volatility in the market, which was horrendous during the Ukraine-Russian war, or do we try to lock in at a fixed price, which is nice for budgetary purposes? But that's why the evaluation committee has representatives from the school committee, the advisory committee, capital budget, select board, and alternative energy committee.
No, that's great. Thank you. I mean, natural gas is one of the most volatile commodities out there. So anytime you can lock it in, I think that makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Any more questions? Tanya, can you just give these folks a little bit, like a 5-second outline on your background?
Oh, sure. So my
We should've-
entire career
should've
has
started
been
with that.
as, thank you. My entire career, my day job, when I'm not working as the chair of the Alternative Energy Committee, is I have been a consultant, economic business and policy advisor to the energy industries for more than 30 years. And so the focus has been on the power sector, but also natural gas. Mike, as you know, is a critical part of that, coal, oil, renewables. And so we're working right now. One of my clients is a large data center who is hiring us to help them with the energy aspect of their development. So we've done work for the government, large corporations, the market operators, investors, new technologies. And I've been doing that for more than 30 years and love it. And so this is my contribution to our town, which is being able to help us find a way forward to save money on our energy and help the environment when it makes sense.
Anyone else? No? Thank you very much, Tanya. I appreciate that you reached out to me. I think knowledge is power, if that's saying. So I think it's good for everybody to have a full understanding of what's going on and why. I know that back in the day when we were looking at all of those companies and then the prices tanked on the energy, we were like, oh man. And then when they kept extending the life of the roofs, that was even more demoralizing after all the work that we had all done. So it's good to know that it's still around, it's still beneficial, and we're saving the town money through
We're
these
trying, we're trying. And at the end of the day, the school committee has worked with us on a number of initiatives. And I think they're familiar with this. I'm gonna jump on their school committee call and give them the same spiel, but they feel the same way you do, Jean, which is we've sort of already done this. This is sort of at this point every 5 years we vote to lease the school property so that we can try to move forward with the opportunities that exist.
They arise.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
See you
Bye-bye.
soon. Okay, so the school committee and the select board have not voted on this. And I believe I said at the beginning that they've decided that they're going to wait and vote at town meeting. We can vote now, or we can follow suit and do it on November 3rd. What's the feeling of the rest of the committee? Any strong feelings?
I feel like we have enough information to vote.
Agreed.
I don't.
Yeah,
I think
I
Yeah,
great job out. Thing.
I echo Mike's comments there.
Okay.
yeah, I concur.
All right. So then let me just grab my warrant. Which, by the way, did everybody get a warrant in the mail?
Mm-hmm.
I did not, but all my neighbors have them. All right, so it's
You're
article,
just being hand delivered, Jean.
yeah, right,
Okay.
at town meeting. Okay, so it's Article 11. So do I have a motion to recommend to special town meeting Article 11, lease of school property for siting of a school solar power electric generation facility?
So
So-
moved. Sorry.
Right. And do I have a second?
Second.
Mark? All right. So all in favor, well, we won't do an all in favor. We have to vote individually. Mike Barclay,
Barclay, aye.
Mark Cameron,
Cameron, I.
Tom Callahan,
Tom Callahan, aye.
Michael Flaherty,
Michael Flaherty, aye.
Mark Maggi,
Actually,
Courtney Murphy,
Courtney Murphy, aye.
And Gina Stino, aye. Okay. And I believe that that's the only thing that we really have to vote on tonight as far as special town meeting goes. Other than, we should have a conversation about special town meeting warrant articles. And if anyone feels passionate to speak on any of them, if questions come up, or to clarify why we voted for. I mean, I think that we voted on just about everything.
Gene, I'll give you and the rest of the committee the heads up that having voted for the enterprise fund for the transfer facility in our meeting, I do plan to vote against it at town meeting. I'm not going to speak against it. But the more I've thought about it, the more I've read it, and the more I've kind of stewed over it the past month, the more I mean, regret is a strong word, but yeah, I regret my vote at the time, and in town meeting, if you all stick with your votes that you had during the committee, I will be the lone dissent. But I'm not going to get up and speak against it, but just giving you the heads up.
Okay, well, thanks for sharing that. Maybe we can talk in person a little bit more about.
Yeah, I'd be glad to. I just didn't want to cause any questions or commotion during the meeting. Just figured I'd give everybody in the committee a heads up. I enjoy our discussions and our debates, but having talked to a few of you offline and kind of, as I said, stewed over it a bit more in the past few weeks because I've had nothing but time these past few weeks.
Sorry.
I've come to, I support the general idea of it, but as proposed, I do plan to vote against it at town meeting, despite my vote for it in our committee. Okay.
All right, and you read the attachment to the warrant about the costs involved and all of that, because that's all in the warrant.
Yep.
I had been yelling for weeks when we were doing all of this, tell me how much, tell me how much. So now we know how much it is going to be, and we're all informed.
Exactly.
So you have to do what you think is best. So the town moderator likes to have people get up and speak either in favor of items that are on the warrant. And I didn't know if anybody is interested in, and I'm not going to force anybody to do this, but if you feel strongly, if you've been a liaison on one of the committees and support one of these initiatives, I would happily provide your name to Mr. Evans, and he will call on you at an appropriate time in the meeting. Any volunteers?
I mean, having been the liaison to the capital committee, I think everything's pretty straightforward there. I'm sure they'll get up and do a great job representing their votes for that. So feels, you know, I don't, there's nothing controversial in the capital budget that I can see. So
yeah, I think the temperature of this whole meeting has been taken down a few degrees by the removal of the police.
for sure. So why spend another 6 minutes talking when nothing needs to be said?
Yeah, I mean, I could speak as a liaison to OPEB, but I'm sure Tim Davis is going to get up and speak, and he's going to say exactly what I would say, and it's pretty non-controversial. So,
right. I think this warrant's pretty easy, actually, now that they've pulled a couple of things out. So
yeah, I really think it's probably down to the transfer fund.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, the way you phrase it, Gina, is there anything I feel super passionate about? Like passionate? No, I think there's a lot of straightforward, appropriate things that need to move forward.
right. And I think that we've all done our due diligence between the 3 committees or 2 committees, excuse me, to get all the answers that we needed in order to make our recommendations. So I really don't feel strongly that we have to get up and make an argument, but if something comes up in the meeting and you want to speak, you are always welcome to do that as a citizen of the town.
Mm-hmm.
Just get up to the microphone, you state your name and your address, and you share. So that's all good.
I think the 2 articles that would be likely worthy of hearing folks' opinion is probably the transfer station and the kindergarten subjects.
Right.
I think everything else other than that, I think, for lack of a better term, seems boilerplate, standard issue, unpaid bills. I mean, there's not a lot to you can
Right.
say what you want about it, but we just still have to pay them. I mean, it's not a big conversation. But I think those are the two, if anyone, and I don't particularly have an interest in getting up and speaking. I think, but those seem to be the two articles that would be worthy of a voice from the advisory committee to the public.
I worry
Right.
with the kindergarten thing that it's going to get bogged down in the what people want versus what can actually be done, and it's going to require some, I don't know, some legal determinations, for lack of a better term there.
Yep.
So
And they've changed.
it's as much procedural as it is anything else, and someone might get up and give a great argument in favor, but the procedural hurdles make any argument sort of a moot point. So I have some concerns about that devolving into some sort of debate for and against, and someone's going to just come up at the end and say, well, that was a fun discussion, you all, but like, we can't do this from a logistical standpoint.
Right. And then somebody gets up and moves the motion. Courtney, did you want to say something? You look
I was
pensive.
just gonna say, isn't that the job of the moderator to, move forward?
No,
To
as
your
long-
point, Mark, that one will be, because that is the one I'm passionate about. Obviously, I'm, was in dissent of this group, and there's plenty that are gonna support it, so I don't need to, I don't feel any desire or need to stand up in that regard.
the moderator doesn't typically move the motion. Okay.
Fair, but can the moderator keep it, somewhat managed?
Right.
Because that one could go off the rails
And he will, trust me.
for the evening. I mean, just take a lot of time.
Yeah, I think to Mark's point, I think town council's got to get up and explain to people the kind of legal realities of this. And yeah, you agree with it or not, at least my interpretation is legally it's out of our purview.
Right. There are some legal issues with doing this.
And that this is a one-time allocation, right? This is a one-time reimbursement to those families that have already paid for the current calendar year,
Right.
academic year. And this is not something that is in place to go forward in perpetuity. That's not what this vote is. It's clearly a one-time reimbursement.
Right.
So I think, again, these are some of the components as to why one may vote yay or nay. Is not necessarily the principle against the philosophy of providing free all-day kindergarten.
Right.
There are two very distinct different things here that we've got. And I think it's important for folks to understand a lot of the votes that have come forward, whether it be advisory, school committee. It's not that we don't support the logic. It's this being a one-time refund situation that's not built into the town budget.
And it's not the logic, as you said, Mark. It's a
The way
school
it's being
committee
done.
decision. Okay. And
And we have, even regardless of how we vote, we have no ability to uphold that vote. We have no ability to enforce and mandate the school committee to do it. And they've made that clear in their meetings that they've taken a position on priorities and that not being one of them, and that they don't intend to fund it. So I think if they were sending a different message that they fully supported this, and if they had the money, they were fully committed to doing this, that's a different conversation too. But it's not that. It's a very different situation that
right.
they are not committed to this cause right now.
And
It certainly would have changed my vote, Mark, based on exactly what you just said.
Tracy has her hand up. Sorry, Tracy.
Hi, Jean. Just quickly. So town council will be at the table and they'll be available for legal instruction and procedure if necessary. Just wanted to
Exactly.
put that out there.
Thank you for adding that in.
Yeah, I mean, Tracy, I don't think they're available. I think they need to explain to people the details of this.
Yeah, I think town council
We
Carolyn Murray
could
is
spend
prepared.
an hour debating this on the floor of town meeting to come to the, and then have someone come up and say, yeah, legally this just can't happen. And that's, that's kind of the crux of the vote.
Well,
me.
I've spoken to Chris. The chair of the select board has spoken to Chris. He's aware of what needs to happen as far as legal counsel goes and their opinion on this. And it's more than an opinion. It's following the law and the budget principles. So we do need to relay a clear message on this. We've also, on every opportunity that we've had, pointed out to these folks that they really need to start attending school committee meetings. They need to sit through the budget meetings. They have to be community representatives at those meetings so that they can not help with the process, but be well informed of the process. I sat in the school committee room for an entire year, every single meeting, before I decided to put signs on my lawn. And I saw a lot of things that I did not like, including a failed override that all of a sudden a lot of money was found in the schools. And they took care of everything that needed to be taken care of. It was $648,000 and the schools were going to go in the dumper. And all of a sudden that override failed. And that is why overrides don't typically pass here. Because people lost faith in the process. So I think that it's very important for legal counsel to give their take on what this is and why it may not be able to happen. But we have been encouraging people, go to meetings, go to school committee meetings, see where the money's going, see if there's a way that they can economize somewhere else. But quite frankly, that's 3 teacher salaries would have to go in order to fund that out of the regular school budget. So you have to be fiscally responsible. You can't just say, oh, well, this is important to 100 people. There are 7,000, 8,000 people here, and there are bigger issues. The fire at the dump, RTF, was one of those big issues. And, we need those services. So depleting funds that are there for emergencies, this isn't an emergency. It really isn't. And that's what the funds are that they want to use to take care of this. So, Tracy?
Yeah, so I just wanted to add in there that Ellen Mar is in the audience here, and she just said that she will prepare Carolyn Murray, town council, to address it at town meeting.
Great. Thank you. Thanks, Ellen. Courtney?
Hey, thanks, Jean. Simple tactical question, just completely based on what you just mentioned, because I completely agree with it. I was listening to the school committee meeting, but had to jump off for this one. We conflict a fair amount. Is there anybody that keeps them separate or no? A stupid question, probably. I was trying to listen, and then I love being here, so of course I want to
Say
be
your
here.
question again. It's very frustrating for me that I cannot listen to a school committee meeting live, or that I can't go to a school.
Right, because it's literally happening right now. Like I watched from 6 to 7 and I jumped off for this. Is there anybody that can help organize those or no? I'm a good organizer, I can help.
At one point in time, I suggested that maybe the advisory committee would meet on Thursday nights. We can't meet on Tuesday nights because that's select board night.
Select board, right.
Okay.
Maybe school committee should be Mondays.
Capital budget's on Monday, so.
Got
Yeah,
it.
so there are so
So it's
many.
impossible.
Well,
different-
but I think to Jean's point, I think Thursday is right, because I don't think anybody meets on Thursday generally, right?
So somebody just has to raise their hand.
Yeah, I don't- if
Or
somebody-
we can watch the
I
recording.
mean,
I just-
yeah, no, and Courtney, because I feel that because when Mary McGoldrick was on as well in the last rounds, Mary and I were liaisons to the school committee, and we could never attend. It was
Right.
I feel the pain, so I'm happy to adjust and deal with that. I mean, either they move or we move. No objection here. Just from a broad sense. You
And
know, it's important
I have-
to
Everybody's got a night.
stay on a cadence on a typical week, a typical day of the week, so that the public, should they want it.
Right, of course.
And I have to say, I get so frustrated when I put those meetings on and watch the recordings. They're just awful.
They're a little hard to follow
Yeah, you can't see who's speaking.
audibly. And
It's-
yes.
It's bad. Anyway, Tom,
Okay, more to come.
I just wanted, not only is the article illegal, but I think we should emphasize that it's just bad policy to do anything this way. Citizens groups should not be coming in the middle of a fiscal year
right,
proposing to move money around that they have no clue about what they're doing, what the consequences are for the selfish interests of a small group of people in the town. I'm sorry, we should say that. It's bad policy to encourage this kind of stuff.
and I mean, if we hadn't had money in the budget to take care of the elevator question at town hall and some of the other emergency things that have come up, there's also always a problem with special education, with out-of-district tuitions.
Yep.
People move here so that their children can go to school in a different district on our dime, and we have no control over that.
Yep.
So depleting that fund is not a smart idea on any basis, let alone the legality of doing it or any of these other things that we've spoken of. So it's just not, it's not good policy, and it is illegal to do it. So we don't want to be breaking the law and having the powers that be come down on us for doing it. So if nobody else has any more comments, we will move on. Okay. So I had a phone call from Glenn Pratt. He wanted me to name someone to be a liaison for the public safety working group that they are expanding. And I explained to him the way it works and that we have to meet in public and that I couldn't just do this by email because that's not allowed by the open meeting law. So I told him that we would chat about it tonight and I would see if someone would be interested in participating in that group, because they would like participants from the community, from select board, from advisory, from capital budget, from all the different groups in town to participate in this conversation and figure out the way forward on it. So does anybody here, would anyone here like to volunteer for this? Maybe the liaisons to public safety?
Yeah, I did go to this week's meeting. I was invited to come to this week's meeting, so I did.
Oh, good, good.
To 135 King, and I did attend this meeting. So, having done the town hall one and been the liaison here, I'm happy to continue with these folks if people wish. If someone else wants to take it,
Unless somebody else wants to beat you to
someone else has a dying need. And then being in the construction management building business, I just felt that it was in my wheelhouse that I was happy to help continue there.
That's great. Okay, Tom had his hand up and then Mike Barker.
Yeah, I'm certainly not interested in it. I just wanted to know if this person are we just going in there with no position, or is this person going to represent, a position that this committee has? I mean, I personally I'm personally disgusted that this is being pulled and people are nickeling and diming to death, and it's going to cost more in the spring as a result. So, but I'm concerned about there not being an ambulance or a fire truck, so that perhaps my neighborhood has some decent coverage for once. I'm concerned about nickel and diming the interior square footage. I mean, I'm concerned about the classic Cohasset study things to death, looking for the perfect project when there is none. And I'm wondering if we as a committee are going to have any position to maybe express those points of view, or whatever our majority point of view is. I don't think we should just go in this and just, sit and listen on it, sit in our hands and listen. So.
Well, I think that the scope has changed. There are different needs. The square footage has changed. The total price has changed on what is needed. So I believe that it does need more input from people. So having somebody from our committee sitting there, hearing what they're saying about how much it's going to cost for this, how they can economize in certain areas and maybe expand in others. I think it's all valuable information. And I don't think it should be just done in a silo. I think that it needs to be opened up.
Well,
Few more
I would like to see this liaison report back to us regularly, you know, even if it's by email that we don't respond to. I'd like to know what's going on. And not come back, you know, in March sometime or April and hear all of this for the first time.
Well, we've always done that, Tom.
Yeah.
We do have
And-
liaison reports.
If I may, just speak to that point. So in the previously, this working group has assembled, and then, you know, as a working group, which is not a posted, publicly recorded meeting.
Right.
It's a working group, and the meetings are being recorded now, and so they will be available for review by anybody. So I think that will increase people's ability to familiarize themselves with what's going on and draw their own conclusions and provide their own feedback and weigh in just like they would on any other subject.
Right. And as I just explained to Tom, in the past, we have had liaison reports if there's something to report. The downside is that if we don't have something going on, Tom, that's we don't necessarily have regular meetings. We don't.
No, I'm aware of that. I just don't want to be hearing all about these discussions for the first time 5 weeks before town meeting.
Well, that's why this is happening now.
Uh,
That's why it's happening.
Just-
That's why the recordings will
That's
be
why.
available.
That's why at the full-
To the extent you can find and have time to sit there and listen to a 2-hour meeting when you can get a brief email summary of what's being discussed, that's me.
and they'll have minutes if they're recording. Probably they'll have someone taking minutes, and they'll be available on the website.
Just-
Okay, Mike, you had a question?
Well, no, I would just say, I mean, if nobody's been watching for the last couple of years, this is something I've got a tremendous, passion for. And Mark, I'm really happy to hear that you're willing to step up and do this, because I think you're definitely the right person for it. And thank you for doing that. Tom, to your point, I agree 100%. We do not want to be having anything dropped on us 5 weeks before town meeting. Certainly I would say this is just a standing, on every agenda, this is a standing report that we have on our agendas. And yeah, because, not to play Monday morning quarterback, but, this big surprise we got 2 months ago, I'm pretty sure they knew about in February and March of last year or earlier this year, right? And it goes to what you said, Tom, where, but now we have a liaison, we have somebody, Mark, thank you again, because, you definitely know this stuff. And I think we will be very well served with you as our liaison. And, and yes, and we should talk about it as a committee and express our opinions. And, I think there is, I think this step back is a necessary part of hopefully getting this solution to the problem, because certainly for the police, there is a problem. There needs to be a solution. It needs to be done. It cannot wait. And it has to, like, if it goes beyond next May or June or whenever the town meeting is, that will be a shame. And the earlier we get involved in this, the earlier we socialize it to the public and make people aware of what's going on. Because I don't think anybody can really, at the end of the day, argue that you don't want your police to be, in the right facility and serving us the best that they can. So, and Mark, I mean, you can always email me. I'm happy to help however I can, but thank you for stepping up.
I appreciate the kind words. And I think one key point from this week's meeting was communication, right? Is the increased communication, not to boards and committees here, but to the general public, right? Is communication, getting the information out there ahead of time. We can see from the last couple of weeks, there was, whether it be the cost of the buildings that were back, things that have been out there for a little bit longer than have been presented to folks in public, but it also was some operational questions that came up very late in the game that were different from how this was described to folks from a staffing and manning and component. So there were a lot of questions that were raised that were still needing to be figured out as well.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much for volunteering. I appreciate it, Mark. I'll let Glenn know. So then that leads us to the selection of advisory committee liaison positions. And unfortunately, I couldn't print, so I have a handwritten list. But I did send out to you this afternoon a list of all of the liaison positions.
You did.
And I included the names of people who were currently serving. There are some open positions that have been left open because we lost 3 members after the election, and we now have 3 new members. So if there's something that you're passionate about, we would be happy to have you step up and volunteer. So the first one is alternative energy. And we didn't have anybody on that the last time around. So we did have a brief discussion on this previously, but nothing really got documented, sorry to say. So we definitely need a volunteer for alternative energy, particularly with the roof. They do meet on a regular basis, the Alternative Energy Committee. The meetings sometimes are very technical, but sometimes they're very interesting. And I really did enjoy attending those meetings. I thought that they were very informative about things that I had never really thought about before. So if somebody would like to volunteer for that, but look at the list quickly first, if you have it in front of you on your email. I sent it to Chris also thinking that he could share the list, but I neglected to include Tracy. Sorry, Tracy. So she doesn't have it in her computer.
If you want to forward it, I'll throw it up.
I can try.
Yeah, I'll do it.
And Gene, I think some of these that are larger in their qualification, in their work here, may be worthy of having 2 individuals, as we've had.
Exactly, and some of them do have 2 people listed as previous. For example, Water and Sewer had Diane and Mark Maggi. Public Safety Committee had you and Mike Barclay. Police and Fire had the 2 of you also, Mike Barclay and Mark Cameron. So, I mean, OPEB, you want to continue to do that, Mark? Let me just see if I can get this.
I just sent it to Tracy from.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Yeah, I mean, Gene, I would say, I'm happy to continue on capital. This is my last year. And so if somebody wants to join me, capital's incredibly important. And there's a need to continue to advocate.
Absolutely.
Our budget has been underfunded for more than a decade. And it's important to continue to have a kind of investing mentality in the town. And I'm happy to stay on it. But certainly if there's anyone else who wants to join me, who has a longer runway, I think that would be a good idea.
Okay, Courtney, you have your hand up.
Hey, Gene, thanks. Can I just ask for can you give me a little bit of a sense as one of the newer folks, what, or one of you folks that have served in these roles, what exactly is the role? Are we reporting back? Are we writing, what are we doing? Are we representing advisory as a body? Are we attending every meeting? Sorry, just give me a sense.
Sure, you're an attendee at the meeting. You don't necessarily have to speak, but you are allowed, once they've done their business on certain items, you are allowed to raise your hand, have some input. Other than that, reporting back to us is good, and I will start adding liaison reports as an agenda item. I don't know when our next meeting will be after town meeting, but we can certainly, reconnect at some point in January, maybe have one meeting a month, just so that we can connect and get more information from you folks who are going to be, from the folks who are going to be liaisons.
And typically, if I may add, typically we don't attend every one of the meetings, right? This
Right,
would
you don't have to.
be a tremendous amount of meetings. It's
Right.
usually the higher, bigger level type conversations. And it's often more geared around the budget cycle process when we're looking at
Sure.
the overall town budget. We're not trying to get into the weeds of each item that these folks deal with. But it's just really in a more of a general sense.
Right, because you're not a member of that committee.
Right,
You're
right.
a liaison to the advisory committee.
I mean, just from my own, right, this always conflicted with school committee, so I would rarely go to a school committee meeting. It would have to be, it was something that Mary and I would set up separately with them to be able to connect with them outside of the meeting because the two meetings conflicted and we just couldn't make it work.
Right.
Or we do it on an off week or something like that, but it was pretty specific when we would engage in them. And then Mike and I with the fire, usually it was the budget cycle. We're not going down to the department weekly, monthly, or anything to check and see how things are going.
Right, and if there are two members on a committee, or two members as liaisons, you can actually either tag team or, pick which ones you're going to go to and the other person is going to go to. Because there are only two of you, you don't represent a quorum of the advisory committee. So you
Right.
can speak about what went on at the meetings at your pleasure.
Yeah, and Courtney, I'd also say that, I mean, for instance, with the capital budget, sometimes there's a 15 item list of, things that they have considered that they have taken a very deep dive to do the work on. And sometimes with only 6 minutes to present at town meeting, they might need somebody to come in and kind of, play Robin to their Batman in terms of helping to explain issues that may be a little bit more complicated that they don't have all the time to, present given the rules of speaking, on the floor of town meeting.
Helpful, appreciate it.
Okay. Tom, you have your hand up?
I'll volunteer for planning and zoning,
Oh, why?
but I will tell you that I never saw an advisory liaison in 5 years being on the planning board and doing all those zoning bylaw changes. But I'll be glad to do it. And if I speak to people on the select board regularly, if nobody else does the select board, maybe I think that might be something for two of us to do, but I could do that as well.
Okay, great. Some of these didn't have people listed, and it was because the person fell off of our committee or there wasn't anybody before that stepped up. And these are
Or
just,
maybe you found planning and zoning boring.
you did a remarkable job, Tom.
That could be.
Ever, Tom, you were so clear and concise, everything on those zoning articles that we never had to worry about that.
I lost count of how many times I saw all your eyes roll back in your head.
I have to say, I was really glad when you started consolidating things. It made it much easier for the rest of us.
Yeah.
Courtney?
Gina, it was just, if you think there's a more appropriate place, I'm happy to go where you think. I appreciate Mike's point about transition and capital budget just being meaningful. And so my sort of interest goes to either capital budget, I can't believe I'm saying that, or school committee, school building. I see Mark's on both. So, whatever you think is appropriate, that's where my interests lie. But if you say we really need you on Harbor, I'm happy to do that too.
No, and I think that Harbor is probably a really soft touch. Maybe we don't even need to have a liaison for the Harbor. That was kind of a passion of Fran Collins because he graduated from Mass Maritime and he was very involved in those things. He still is. So we have a Harbor liaison listed because of that. if there's something else that you want to participate in, or you want to look at, or you could even request people's minutes so that you can look through, or you can find them on the website, actually.
Yeah, I would just say if you want a second on the school ones or on capital, those are my interests.
Okay,
I-
so,
Capital, Courtney, I'll take you on for that one, definitely.
I'll take you too on school.
Schools.
okay,
I think those are two that are really worthy of having the second meeting.
absolutely.
Not to jump in front of Mike, but the school building committee one can probably be taken off for now because that committee was sunsetted.
Yeah, I only kept it on the list because it was on the last list.
Yeah, until further notice there. So
Okay, so it looks like capital budget will be Mike and Courtney, and school committee will be Mike and Courtney. I'm sorry, Mark
Mark.
and Courtney. We're gonna take off, I would take off harbor committee too. And then school building committee, as you said, was sunsetted. I just took the old list and rearranged it. Mike Flaherty.
Yeah, what's town hall?
that
That's not a-
was that was what I'm still involved into, and that was the town hall renovation. So since at last town meeting, the budget was approved for the 5 million or so. So that's really in the execution phase.
So is there not a need now for that?
I don't think so, Gene, because I don't think this isn't an item that's coming back in front
Yeah,
of.
I don't
town
think so
meeting, right?
either.
It can probably be removed.
Okay, great. This is why I'm asking. Okay. Now Diane's not here, and neither is Vince. I don't think Vince was on any of these last time around because he joined us kind of mid-cycle. Diane knows that if you don't come to the meeting, you might get selected for things that you wouldn't want to be participating in. But she was doing CPC, so the preservation, and she was also doing water and sewer. I thought she was on a third one. Oh, yeah, library and elder affairs. So if anybody has a passion for any of those subjects, I would be happy to add you to the list. Mike?
Yeah, you can, I'll take the library and elder affairs with Diane.
Okay, great. I feel like we're playing poker. Okay, so library and elder affairs is set. I'm going to leave Diane on CPC. And then how about water and sewer? Doesn't require a lot, but it's good to be kind of involved in the conversation.
I'm
Mark.
happy to stay.
We'll say.
Yeah.
Do you think we need a second person on that?
As it stands now, no. If there's some major expansion of sewer in the town, probably. But as it
It's
stands
an
now,
enterprise fund, and they self-fund. They have money in their fund. Sorry. So why don't I cross Diane off? But if you think that there's that you need a little bit of help going to some meetings or seeing what's going on.
yeah, I know she's. I talked to her a fair amount. So I'll talk with her and see what she thinks, and if I have a blind spot here. She's obviously been involved in town government, longer than many of us combined. So if I have a blind spot, but if not, she doesn't need more on her plate.
Okay. And public safety, since we have a liaison for that working group, I'm thinking that, Mike, you can take a pass on that. Mike Barclay?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And Mark, if you ever need a stand-in, let me know.
And I was going to say, Mark, if with Mike's, so Mike, you have a year left in your second term on advisory.
Yeah.
I think I have 2 left, but just for the sake of continuity, Mark Cameron, if you want somebody else involved, I'm happy to pitch in there as well.
Okay, great. No, I think this one is one could use a good couple of touches here.
Okay, so I should add who?
Mark Maggi.
Yeah, why don't you just leave the three of us on and we could kind of, between the three of us, we can ensure there's at least one or two people involved. Unless Mike Barclay really wants to come off, but.
Okay, well, I have to say that I don't think that they want 3 representatives.
All
at
right, well,
the-
take Mike off, leave Mark and Mark on, and if the Marks need to bug Mike, we will.
Yeah.
Okay.
Get back on the 650, all right, Mark?
Trust me, I'm
No.
I'm running out of stuff to do around here.
Oh, I know.
The paint on his car is wearing thin after he waxes it so much.
We canceled the house cleaner and I cleaned the house today.
I was just gonna ask you for dust. Maybe-
Yeah, cleaned out the shed, the basement, the cars are clean, the yard looks great. Yeah,
Okay, so we got water and sewer.
You're not running far enough every day, Mark. You gotta get out there, add a couple miles.
I will say I do like the South Shore Athletic Club scene at about 10 a.m. It's just me and the retirees. I'm like, I can get used to going to the gym at 10 a.m. This is a good crowd.
Okay, so we also have DPW and facilities. And previously that was Mark.
If anyone wants it, they're happy to take it, or I'm happy to stay there. It doesn't matter.
Where's Vince? You missed the meeting.
Yeah.
We can
There
give
you
Vince
go.
one. Yeah, that sounds
That's a good one. That would be good for him. And
I'm
actually,
kidding.
No,
No,
no, that's great.
no, I think it would be good because he's involved with the Boy Scouts. They have a presence there.
Yep.
They had a presence there and they're going to renew that presence. So I'll contact him and just make sure he's okay with it. But he probably knows everybody there because of his Boy Scout.
You can just tell him he's been voluntold.
Okay. Planning and zoning is Tom. So then we've got police and fire.
Well, I think we've got the public safety now, but I think that should, for continuity there. Unless Mike and the other Mark want to do that this year, and I can just stick with the building portion of it.
I mean, I live six houses down from the public safety facility, so it's always easy for me to walk down and see the chiefs. So I'm happy to stay on that. And yeah,
Okay.
continuity. Mark wants to join in, then and this will be more just for the annual budget season, not the building part of it. Although
Right.
that'll inevitably get weaved into conversations, I'm sure.
Okay, so Mark Maggi, do you want to help out on that one with Mike Barclay?
Yeah, I'm just taking a roll call. I mean, a list here. So I've got OPEB, water and sewer.
Okay, so you're going to stay on OPEB.
Yeah, I mean, I'm comfortable being solo on, police and fire, Mark, if, because you do have a couple other ones that you're on, and, I'll
Let me talk to Diane about water and sewer.
because at this point, it would be just annual operating budget really would be the scope of that committee at this point, because the building
Correct. Yep.
is.
Does it make sense for the people on public safety to also be police and fire though? Like, should those two sort of go together?
They can, but, I mean, we're
Yeah.
a trio at this point, so up to you.
Well, I did it last year. I'm familiar with it. Why don't Mark Maggi and Mike do it this year? And then if Mike, seeing as this is his last term, I can do it with Mark next year. I'll still be in touch with them, and I'm familiar with the process, having done it once with Mike. So if Mark, Maggi, and Mike want to take it this year, I think that makes some sense then.
Okay. So that leaves,
Mark Maggi, it's like with the operating budget, it's more or less one meeting with the chiefs sometime in March or whatever.
Yeah.
It's
before the budget cycle starts.
exactly.
Okay. So that leaves alternative energy. And I guess I will talk with Tanya and see, what I could do maybe to help out on that. Because I don't think that would be, that certainly would be out of my realm after 9 years on that as alternative energy liaison. From the school committee, by the way. Okay, so that covers everything. So alternative energy will be me. Capital budget will be Mike Barclay and Courtney. CPC, we're going to leave Diane. DPW and facilities will be Vince. We crossed off Harbor. Library and Elder Affairs, Diane and Mike Flaherty. Planning and zoning will be Tom Callahan. Police and fire, Mike Barclay and Mark Maggi. OPEB, Mark Maggi. Oops, something just happened to my screen.
Insurance staff.
School committee, Mark Cameron and Courtney. Select board, Tom Callahan. Water and sewer, Mark Maggi. And we'll talk to Diane about that too, maybe?
Yeah, let's put a pin. Let's leave her on there for now until I can talk to her.
Okay, and then public safety committee will be Mark Cameron, but Mike Maggi can.
Mike Maggi. That's what we need. We need a Mike Maggi.
Too
Solve
many
all of our
Maggi's.
problems.
That was bound to happen at some.
Somebody get it.
Let's just blame Mike Maggi for anything that
Or
goes
Courtney.
wrong.
Okay. All right, so Mark Cameron and then Mark Maggi.
Mike Maggi has joined the meeting here.
No answer to that.
I don't know why my wife has these little pink glasses in her office, but I just saw them sitting on her desk up here.
Okay, so that covers all of those, and I'll clean up the list and circulate it for real this time. Let's see, advisory committee. So we have 3 sets of minutes to approve. May 7th, September 17th, and October 1st. So we'll take them one at a time. Did everybody have a chance to look at the May 7th minutes? Then I would like a motion to approve the minutes of May 7th, 2025.
Can I abstain from that since I wasn't there?
Yeah, if you weren't here, that's fine.
Motion to approve the May 7th minutes.
Okay. And do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? And Gina Stino, aye. Mark Cameron,
Mark Cameron, I.
Mike Barclay,
Mike Barclay, aye.
and Mark Maggi.
Mark Maggi, aye.
Okay, so then the 9/17 minutes. Do I have a motion to approve those?
So moved.
Second,
Party.
Who seconded?
Mike Flaherty.
Okay. And you folks are not going to vote, right?
No,
You
we
can-
were there. That was our first meeting.
Oh,
Yeah.
just sorry.
Yeah.
9/17 was our first meeting.
You're right. Okay, so Mike Flaherty,
Approve.
aye. All you
Aye.
can say aye. Courtney Murphy,
Courtney Murphy, aye.
Mike Barclay,
Mike Barclay, aye.
Mark Cameron,
Mark Cameron, I.
Tom Callahan,
And Callahan, I.
Mark Maggi,
Mark Maggi, aye.
and Gina Stino, aye. And then we have October 1st. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please. Michael Flaherty,
Michael Flaherty, aye.
Courtney Murphy,
Courtney Murphy, aye.
Tom Callahan,
And Callahan, I.
Mark Cameron,
Mark Cameron, I.
Mike Barclay,
Mike Barclay, aye.
Mark Maggi,
Mark Maggi, aye.
and Gina Stino, aye. Okay, so all of those are done. I don't have any topics not reasonably anticipated. So at 8:21, sorry, we're late. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Mike Flaherty,
Mike Flaherty, aye.
Courtney Murphy,
Courtney Murphy, aye.
Mike Barclay,
Mike Barclay, aye.
Mark Cameron,
Mark Cameron, aye.
Tom Callahan,
Callahan, aye.
Mark Maggi,
Mark Maggi, aye.
and Gina Stino, aye. Okay, thank you so much, and we'll see you at town meeting on November 3rd at 6:30. Thank you.
Good night.
See you, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Thanks, Trace.
Thank you, Tracy.